Hello, everybody. It's me, and we are back. Tarot Tuesday, Tarot Reviews Day, and I have new decks for you to see today. The first one I would like to show you is this one. This is the Oracle of the Roses by Sherilyn Darcy. But I have a double whammy for you today. Blammo, we have the Rose Oracle pocket version by Rebecca Campbell with artwork by Katie Louise. I had two Rose decks and I was just going to do this one, but I was like, I feel like I want to do the little guy too. So we're going to have a big ragu, little ragu situation. We're going to start first with the big ragu. This is Sherilyn Darcy's Oracle of the Roses. And this is a really, really pretty deck. Really pretty. The book here, this is one of those decks where the book is useful. Sherilyn Darcy, she's an ethnobotanist, meaning that she studies the impact that flowers have on culture and how culture is used, botany or plants for, food or through ritual, etc. And it's just, she's just really interested in this deck. She's really interested in roses and what roses say about people, right? And so she sort of blended roses with different archetypes. So you'll see that this one here says the hero, right? Our classic archetype, right? So we have like some really pretty botanical drawings on just a plain background. So it's a super pretty deck. We have three different types of roses that she does. We have our modern garden suit. So these are roses from after 1867, where the tea rose kind of came forward and we're gardening using a lot of like new crossbred roses. We have also like the vintage roses, and we also have, that's the old garden rose suit. And then there's another suit. When we come to it, I'll say. But she's just like really exploring the different qualities that roses have, and what it is that we can learn about ourselves by looking at each of these individual roses with their archetype. So she has she tells us a bit about the rose. She tells us a little bit about the sort of ethnobotanical implications of the roses, and she gives I think there's like a zodiac sign with each rose. We'll see when we get to the book, but yeah. But it's just a pretty deck. This deck reminds me actually a lot of a friend of mine that I've recently been, the Wild Rose, that's the other suit. A friend of mine I've recently reconnected with that I used to work with at the bookstore, Miriam, and she would bring in the cutest botanical deck to the bookstore and give us all readings. And this deck actually reminds me a lot of her. And I remember when I found this at Books A Million, I was like, oh my God, this deck reminds me of Miriam. So we have really, really, really pretty roses, the rose hips, which are very high in vitamin C. So roses, they're very nourishing, very medicinal. And even though this author is pagan, she doesn't really go into the very spiritual qualities of the rose. And so that's why I'm bringing in the other deck. But this is a great deck for if you are a rose enthusiast and you feel very connected to this flower, and you want to learn more about the actual flowers and different varieties. And there's even advice in her booklet about how to grow and care for roses, as I'm saying as I draw the caregiver for us, right? So that's her deck. It's very pretty, very straightforward, beautiful, realist botanical drawings of different kinds of roses broken up between wild ones, vintage, heritage varieties, and the modern ones, the post-1867 sort of gardening, like crossbred, things grown in a hothouse. kind of thing, right? So there's a lot to be said. I think she looks at each rose and their varieties and what their characteristics are, and she's like, what can we learn about ourselves through these flowers? So I think that the theory of this deck is actually really super interesting. And a couple more, and we're going to take a look at our next deck, which is, so the first one is the Oracle of the Roses. This one is called the Rose Oracle, and this one is by Rebecca Campbell. And Rebecca Campbell, I have a few of her decks, and so I don't think we have looked at a Rebecca Campbell deck yet. So her decks are really beautiful, digital artwork, beautiful, not AI, right? A lot of the decks that she did are before people were doing AI decks. But she does, it's like digital artwork by Katie Louise, and you can see very, very, very beautiful, very rich in spiritual symbolism and mandala patterns and spirals and light. And actually we have the Healing Waters Oracle is a Rebecca Campbell deck, and we looked at that in January. So we have, but I have like 3 more. She is an incredibly prolific deck author. And for her, she's thinking about the history of the rose in ancient cultures and mystery schools, among priestesses, different goddesses that we see the rose as a symbol for in artwork. She thinks about the rose as not just heart-opening medicine, and not just like, you know, people use rose oils or rose water for beauty medications and glamour magic. She's also thinking about the rose as an allegory for the human experience, that it's we grow in spirals, we expand, we go from something small to something large, and we're ever expanding, ever unfolding, ever changing in this beautiful sort of harmonic spiralized pattern. And so she's thinking about how roses have been used in goddess cultures and religions, actual rosaries. These beads used to be made out of rose petals, right? And so she's thinking a lot about the spiritual connotations of the rose. So we have 2 very, very different dynamics, but both of these authors looking at the rose as medicine and looking at the rose as a way for us to understand ourselves better. And where the first one was very kind of austere and botanical, this one is just loaded with imagery, loaded with symbols, loaded with not only different types, colors, varieties of roses, not just different shapes, but like bringing them into scenes with different goddesses, putting some figural art in here, having a lot of layers and textures and softness and these sort of dreamy superimpositions, where one deck has a lot of red and cream going on in its color story. This one is a lot more of going into the pink, white, like we're going not just with earth imagery, we're going with cosmic imagery, we're going with water imagery, like going into like marrying it with different elements, different figures, different postures, which gives us like it's a completely diverse color story, just narrative story. Emotionally, there's a lot to unpack as a reader in the visuals for this deck. So if you're the kind of a reader like me, where the images are something that you're reading as well as what the author is telling you what the card means, if you're somebody who is really responding to the visual stimulus of the card, you'll really love Rebecca Campbell's decks in general. But if you want to work with roses, this deck is very, very visually stimulating, visually rich, layered, textured. There's a lot of meaning that you can find. So whereas the first deck is something really good for like If you just have a lot of practical connection to the rose and you want to know more about the names and the varieties and the characteristics of different varieties, because she does actually in her booklet talk about this is the variety, this is the characteristics of this variety, this is how you can tell it apart from different ones. So if you're interested in the rose scientifically, right, the first one I think is a good, strong deck. If you're interested in the rose and the mysteries of it, right, and the spiritual connotations of it, you'll really, really like Rebecca Campbell's deck. So let's now take a look at one from each. I'm going to draw a card first from Sherilyn Darcy's deck. Our big guy, this is this one here. We have the Warrior. This is one of the old garden roses, the heritage suit. And this is our Warrior archetype. And this variety, it's called the, I'm probably going to say this wrong, Marichal Neil Rose. And it's a yellow rose. Very, very beautiful. And it looks like it grows in clusters of 3, which I think is really interesting. So when we do our reading, I'll take a look at the book and we'll learn more about this one. Now let's shuffle and take a card from the Rebecca Campbell deck. And we have a flipper. The Bud. Potential, it's happening, keep going. So let's take a look at what both of them mean. I'm going to start with this guy right here. So this is number 18. That's interesting. So my sister Rebecca her birthday 8/18/81. It's like 18 is an important number for her and for our family. So, and she's kind of a warrior too. And I know she watches this regularly. So this is a collective reading. This is for everybody. But the cards also know who regularly watches these. So I guess I'm pointing out some things that are going to stand out to Rebecca. So the oracle meaning. This could represent a challenge in which you need to step up, stand up, speak up. But the energy to fight will only come for something that is worth the battle. There may be a slowing of outcomes or a delay in a hoped for occurrence or resolution, but all the time, nothing is just lost yet, right? Be careful to pick your battles. Don't get caught up in the drama that will bring no personal long-term joy and comfort. The warrior develops skill, is loyal and true to the cause they are aligned with, and makes planned actions toward the goals they are looking to teach. What do you value is worth fighting for, even if you lose, right? So this is associated with, with Athena, first of all. So she's giving us Mars, Athena, Minerva, Eris, and Neith. I always bring in Athena. When I'm opening a circle to do these Tarot Tuesdays, every single week, I invoke Athena and ask her to help me don my armor of light. Because part of why I do these is for me to help bring some kind of healing out there. That's my job. That's my task in this sort of ideological war, I guess, battle between light and dark that I see happening around us constantly throughout time and history, especially right now in our society where there's a lot of division, right? What are you fighting for? Allow Athena to come forward, or Mars, or Minerva, right, or Eris, or Neith, whoever is your patron, right, over your archetype as the warrior. Allow them to help you don your armor of light. Not something that's going to rust around you and become rigid and keep you from moving, expressing yourself at the level of your highest expression. When we put on that mundane armor, that metal, right, our suit of armor, when we think of it that way, that's something rigid, hard to move in. Yes, it'll protect us to a point, right? But that armor of light is something different. That's something that will not only protect us, but will help us to defend what really matters to us at our highest expression, at our fullest mobility. right? So don't be afraid to call that energy forward, and having trust in something made of something that we're not, like made of light, right? Like you can take a knife and just cut right through light, but that light doesn't get hurt. We don't actually destroy it. So think about it in different terms, right? Think about that protection, adaptability, skill, loyalty, discipline. This idea of adaptability, right, is what's coming through for me, that for far too long, many of us, I think, have become exhausted, whether it's a personal battle or whether we're talking like micro inside, whether it's something like you're battling with yourself, there's something happening in your home or your immediate or local orbit, or if you're thinking about the global situation, or if you're even thinking about the cosmic overarching battle between light and dark, right? However this resonates for you, we fight these battles and we become so tired. We become so tired because we have this rigidity around this has to get fixed now. This has to happen now, and the outcome has to be exactly how I envision it. And we do our work, and maybe that work is even aligned to what we feel like we're here to do or what we feel like is right. But we get exhausted when we're not adaptable, when we're not rigid, when we are rigid, when we don't take a rest, when we refuse to take a rest because we feel like maybe we're not entitled to, or, because there's so much work to be done, or there's so much that needs to happen, right? When you are battling something and it's a long haul, very often we're put here with the purpose of making a contribution, and sometimes that contribution has quick results, and sometimes that contribution is part of the larger overarching story, and we're just here to do a piece. That's a life's work. That's a life's work. How exhausting is it if you feel like your life's work all has to get done today, right? So whatever your warrior archetype, whatever is activating your warrior archetype, remember that the rose, first of all, this, again, a cluster of three. You're not alone, right? All of these are working together. Everyone has their bit to do, so it's okay if you need to take a moment, take a break, receive some nourishment, receive water, receive sunlight, whatever it is that you need to grow. And it's ever changing, ever expanding. Allow yourself to continue to spiral out and grow. Don't try and stay in one place, especially if what that place is in anger and you're wearing that rigid metal armor and it's rusting around you and starting to erode, right? When you allow yourself to don that armor of light, and it's like we even have yellow roses here. That's the color of friendship, of happiness, of collaboration, right? It behooves you more, and you're able to align to your purpose more when your armor is one of light, one that you know is indestructible. Even if it can be penetrated, right? It's self-healing. It's self-healing. Whew. We have the second guy that comes in here, right? So we have the bud, potential, it's happening, keep going. So if you're in a fight right now and you see yourself maybe as being alone, or nothing's happening, or this isn't going fast enough, or the outcome that I want is so far away, understand it's happening. It's happening. Manifestation is the product of belief, action, right? So you have a thought, I want this to happen. And then you turn the thought into word, or you turn the thought into action, right? We also are in a dimension that is based in time. And so you have to have faith in this formula, understanding that things might not come to fruition on a timeline that you find satisfying or that you're demanding. But that's simply not the way that things might happen. There are things, when you put that thought out there, when you seek to manifest something, there are things happening behind the scenes that are being orchestrated by the universe that you can't see and you don't know anything about. If you believe that those things are happening, that gives you that patience to sustain, to pause, to receive your nourishment, to receive light and rest and food and every good thing until it's time for you to bloom more fully, right? The bud is patient. The bud knows it's happening because I can feel the potential. I am made of potential. My blueprint is to become a fully formed rose. And the faith in that blueprint means that you can have the thought, create action around that thought, and then you understand that as a result of those things, it must be expressed. It must be manifested in some way, right? So have some patience, have faith that the actions that you have taken have been seen, heard, understood by the universe, and that there are angels, guides, guards, energies, however you want to think of it, whatever resonates with you. There are folks working behind the scenes, doing things you can't even do to orchestrate a result that is beyond your imagination. Maybe it's exactly what you want, but very often these results are beyond our imagination, and it wasn't something we even knew to ask for in the first place. And so what you receive might actually be even more than you're setting out to do. But understand that the result that you receive is the right result. And it's directing you toward the next step in your path, toward your next highest expression, toward your next spiraling up and out, right? Grow how a rose grows, and just allow yourself to spiral and expand and bloom. Understand that it's happening. It's already happening. It's already there. It's already yours. You just have to, when you're fighting, you don't have to fight so doggedly. You don't have to fight so hard. You just have to put in your corner of the work and understand that what you produce around you locally can grow. You don't have to exhaust yourself. All right, I think I'm feeling complete here. I think I'm feeling complete here. If not, I'm going to add a comment. It's like, I feel like there's more, but it's not coming forward. So maybe it's just for another time, another reading. I don't feel like I need to pull a card. I feel like I just need to let it settle and let it land. And perhaps this message is to be continued at a later time. Yeah, all right. I'm going to let it be. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me. Thank you so much for being here. I love you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. If you have any corners that you need polished off, any questions that this reading has risen up for you, please DM me here or at the Lydian Lantern on Instagram. I am happy to book a reading with you. Be well, take care, and have a great week. Bye.